Hello everyone and welcome to the webinar of today. For those who don't know me yet, my name is Laura and I'm a part of the customer success team. I hope you're all doing well today because I'm going to talk about how you can enhance the performance of your dashboard. So what's on the agenda today? First of all, I'm going to give you some insights on what you can do on dashboard level, also on dataset level. And last but not least, I will give you some tips on how you can reach out to support in an efficient manner so that we can help you out quite fast. So without no further ado, let's get to it. First of all, the dashboard level. What you can do is make sure that your dashboard is not too long and doesn't contain too many charts. Not only is this good for your clients so that they can focus on the most important information, but also this is better for your performance. So it's better to have multiple smaller dashboards instead of having one big one. And what you can do is integrate them in your own application via tabs on the left side, for example, as you can see below. But you can also put those tabs on top of your application, for example. Another thing that you can do is work with tiles in your application so that you can hover over them and click on them to open the dashboard. So these are some creative ways on integrating multiple dashboards in your own application. Secondly, you can also use is-in filters instead of contains filters. Why? Because for is-in filters, Camlayo doesn't need to check all the rows in your datasets and the performance is better. Know that currently we are working on a second query engine, so this new engine might also improve some of the things I will discuss today, just so you know. But this is already a tip. If you see that your dashboard is quite slow and you're using a lot of contains filters, try to use is-in filters and see what the result of the dashboard is. A third dashboard level tip is that if you see that your dashboard is still quite slow or you get an error message like query failed, you can always go to the performance indicator, which is on chart level. So you click on the data icon on the right side of the chart, and then you can click on the performance indicator icon. And then you will see a small pop-up window with the different parts of the query process, and you can also see how much time each part took and also how many rows from you got and if it's from cache or not. So here you can have some insights on the part that's rendering quite slow, it's coming quite slow. And just so you know, on our academy we do have an article on this topic, which I will show you later on, where is an explanation about all these different parts. But so if you would reach out to support, you can also include a print screen of the performance indicator, and then we can also already have an idea about where in the process something goes wrong on your end or on our end. So this also helps in giving some extra insights. So that was already it for the dashboard level. Make sure that you have multiple smaller dashboards instead of one big one. Try to use is-in filters, and if you need more information on the process, you can always go to the performance indicator and see which part takes most time. So secondly, some tips on dataset level. First of all, we recommend using a specialized analytical database like ClickHouse, for example. Some of the databases that can be a good idea are the OLAP ones, because there you have multiple options for aggregations and materialized views and such. But if you're not sure about which database is best for your use case, feel free to reach out to us and we're happy to discuss it. Another one can be PostgreSQL, for example, in which you can also create materialized views, which can also help a lot, or MySQL, things like that. Secondly, we also recommend enabling cache, because when cache is activated, the results of a specific query will be kept in that cache for a specific amount of time. And then when you play around with the filters of the dashboard, for example, the results come from the cache, and then it's better for the performance. And you can activate cache on a dataset level in the details page, or also on database connection or plugin level. Just a small detail, when you activate cache on the details page, it's in minutes, and if you activate it via the API, the number is set in seconds. So just so you know. But this will also help improve the performance of your dashboard. Another thing that can help is make sure that when you have created a derived column, you can use it as a dimension without any problem, but try to avoid it to use as a metric. Why? Because when you have a derived column in Camelayo, all the calculations are not done on your database side, but on Camelayo side. So this might have an influence on the performance as well. So if you notice that your dashboard is quite slow and you see that you are using a derived column as a metric, try and think if you can make a view in your data source itself instead. Because if you create a view in your data source and upload that view in Camelayo and use the column from that view as a metric, you will notice that the dashboard is loading faster. So below you can have an example on how you can create a view. Next thing that you can keep in mind is make sure that if you have lots of data sets in Camelayo and you're using multiple ones in your dashboard, make sure that they're not all linked, because if you have a lot of links between data sets in Camelayo itself, the query can also be quite slow. Because imagine you have two data sets that are linked and you are running the query. All the different rows from the data sets need to be retrieved from your database, so that you can already imagine that it returns a lot of rows, which takes some time depending on how big your data sets are. But what you can also do instead is make a view in your data source, and then you see that if you execute the query again, the aggregations and calculations will happen on the side of your database, and then the number of rows retrieved is lower than before. So if you can make views in your database instead of linking datasets in Camelayo, it will have a huge impact on your performance as well. And another thing that we try to recommend is to denormalize your data if possible. You can also make a view or use a star schema, as you can see below, because this will help in avoiding heavy use of joins, because that will also slow the performance. All right. So these are already some tips for dataset level. Use a database, preferably a OLAP database. Enable cache on dataset or database level. Try to avoid using a derived column as a metric, and also try to limit the amount of links in Camelayo. And if you can denormalize your data, that would also be very helpful. And as I said before, we are working on a second query engine, which might already help a lot in performance, and which makes some of these tips not necessary anymore. So that's something to look out for. So these are already the tips on dashboard and data level. Know that on our academy, you can also find these tips in the performance tips article. And here you also have even other tips on top. So I recommend checking out this article if your dashboard is loading quite slow. And also quite handy is a performance indicator article, where you can find more details on the different parts of the indicator. So last part of this webinar already. If you reach out to support, what can you include, right? So the more that you can include, the better, because all information that we have can help for sure. And then we don't need to ask more questions on you guys, and in that way we can save time and make sure that we help you as soon as possible. So what you can include is, for example, dashboard and dataset IDs or URLs. If you have an issue, try to explain it very clear, and try to include visuals as well, like small videos or print screens, because then we're also sure that we're talking about the same thing. And if you see some errors, feel free to also include them. If you see that the dashboard is quite slow or you get an error message, you can always open the console, which you do via right click, and then you choose for inspect at the bottom, and then you go to the second tab, console, and if you see something in red like an error, please make a print screen and also put it in your email. When you're working with a plugin, you can also go to your profile, and on the left side in your profile in Kumalayo you can see a tab, plugin, where you have an overview of all your created plugins, and there you can also find a button to go to the logs of your plugin, and there you can also see if there are errors like 502 or 400, and feel free to also include them, folks. And then last but not least, and this is quite important in case we want to save time, is to already indicate that we can go into your account and also which account, so that we can act immediately and go into your account immediately to see what's going on. So always say like, hey guys, yes, you do have permission to enter the account, and then we can help you out. But make sure not to share your password via email. That's not necessary. We do have another way to go into your account. And the reason why we do need your permission to go into your account is for security reasons. We want to make sure that you know about it. So indicate that we can go into your account. So if you can already include all this information in your email to support@kumul.io, we can start with our investigation right away. So everyone, this was already it. We gave some tips on dashboard level, data level, and also when you reach out to support, how you can do that. If you have other questions left, please reach out to support@kumul.io, and then we're happy to help you out. I hope you learned something, and then we will see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye everyone.